You're watching The Pull Aside. I am Danveer Singh and in conversation with Major General Gbetanu from Ghana. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother.
I believe you had a very long journey from United States. So how are you
Yeah, it was
feeling?
okay from Ghana to US, then US to Doha and to this place. But
And you began your day over here by replaying and then...
by 6:50 we're already on their way, so no sleep yet.
So now that you are in the conclave and you'll be interacting with various heads of militaries and senior military leadership, how are you looking at this visit of yours and interaction at this United Nations Chiefs Conclave?
Thank you very much for this question. At the go, I want to first commend the Indian Chief of Army Staff and the government of India for convening this conclave of Army Chiefs of UN troop contributing countries. This is the first time I have not heard it happened before. And so I commend the Chief for this initiative and then taking the lead. I hope that other army chiefs will take a cue from it and see whether we can progress with it annually. Having said that, the UN, as we see it now, we all know is faced with some challenges. I think this conclave provides the opportunity for the army chiefs of true contributing countries to actually come together, share thoughts, and see how some of these issues can be addressed. Having interacted with some of them, I can confirm that basically all the army chiefs are praising the Indian Army Chief for convening this particular conclave, and they've had the opportunity to discuss petty issues bordering on UN mandates, how broad at times they are, and are not specific, aligned to some local political security and then social dynamics. I think they've touched on some operational issues also, and currently we know what is facing the UN, which has to be the financial challenges. But I think the forum has provided opportunity for the army chief to deliberate on it. And one issue that I'm informed also that came out is the need for better collaboration between the troop contributing countries when it comes to the sort of doctrines that we have differently, but we have to integrate once we find ourselves in the peacekeeping environment. In my comment, I submitted that there is the need for troop contributing countries to share experiences when it comes to pre-deployment training before insertion into the mission area. And I've called for a situation where a troop contributing country can travel to another country to observe their pre-deployment and training, take lessons learned, best practices, and see how we can all integrate it into our missions. And most critically, once they are deployed in the mission also, there are instances where you find troop contributing countries operating together based on some emerging operational development, and it is good that they integrate their doctrines and training in order to meet the challenges on the ground.
Absolutely, sir. And in fact, it's so nice that you have highlighted the event and the challenges, and you congratulated the Indian Army Chief. No doubt, it's a big event. And as you mentioned, that interacting and sharing experiences with other troop contributing countries is very essential. And also, what you have just highlighted, this is what the United Nations Under Secretary General Operations shared yesterday, that there has been a substantial budgetary cut, sir. So keeping that in mind, and the way the tensions across the globe at various places are simmering high, there is a big challenge to maintain international stability and peace and security, and UN peacekeeping mission has a very major role to play. So how do you find this challenge in this new set of environment wherein I just mentioned about the budgetary cuts and various other tensions that are simmering? How do you find Ghana, and how do you look at the future of peacekeeping, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. We all appreciate that it is really a challenge. But peacekeeping also is a strategic intervention that has to do with protection of civilians, key installations, bringing lives to humanity, humanitarian issues. So peacekeeping is very critical in areas that we have the conflicts. Now, with the situation that confronts us, we have to now look at innovative ways of actually managing some of this situation, whether it is possible to use leaner footprints and bring in enough technology so that when it comes to surveillance, intelligence, recce, technology in terms of drones and others can play that critical role, get it down to fusion centers, and then the forces on the ground can then operate with it. With that, there have to be some form of a predictive financing arrangement to actually contain areas that we still need peacekeeping forces, because we cannot, or there should not be a consideration where in some of the peacekeeping areas or operational environment, these challenges should occasion an eventual liquidation of the mission. By doing so, we are going to put the lives of people in danger, especially the vulnerable, the women, and the children. So we must be very sensitive to some of these issues and then come out with innovative ways to actually contain these situations.
So absolutely, and I'm very sure the international community, going by the tagline that we have, that world is one family, they will get together and the funding issues will be resolved in days ahead. But you rightly mentioned that we require technology, we require a lot of synergy while operating in these high tension zones where bringing the warring countries to work on the path of peace is a very big challenge. In fact, Indian troops and the Ghana army troops have served and are still serving at various places. So what's your experience of Indian troops or your army? What do they have to say about the Indian troops, sir?
Thank you very much for this particular question about Indian troops and Ghanaian forces. I have personally experienced it. In UNIFIL, I was a commanding officer of the Ghanaian battalion in 2010, and then we had an Indian battalion also over there. Virtually, my battalion was deployed along the blue line. The Indian battalion also occupied some areas along the blue line, and we did a lot of coordination together. In terms of exercises, at times we observe theirs and they also observe ours. Then within the sector and then the UNIFIL headquarters, there are conferences that bring all of us together. Let me put UNIFIL aside. I will take a United Nations Interim Security Force for ABA, UNISFA. We have the Indian battalion over there. We have Pakistan. And then we have Ghanaian battalions over there. I will say that the Ghanaian battalion shares boundary with the Indian battalion. And in coordinating with the Indian battalion, there is one colonel I would have wished to meet, Colonel Vimal Sharma, who was the battalion commander in 2024, where I actually coordinated an operation on the evacuation of displaced persons that were camped in the Indian battalion's camp, and the commanding officer was very phenomenal. And that was an operation where we put the Indian battalion, the Ghana battalion, and some elements of even the Pakistani battalion. And it was a joint operation of the 3 battalions and other supporting elements, commanded by the Indian commander to conduct the operation. So this was a case where we have forces from other contingents, India, Ghana, commanded by an India company commander, and we conducted the operation together. In this case, we found India operating outside their area of operation in the Ghanaian battalion area of responsibility. And based on the operational understanding and integration between the contingents, the Ghanaians and the Indians, the operation was very successful. And I must place on record that the Undersecretary for Peace Operations, USG Lakura, was in the mission at the time that this operation was conducted by the Indian and the Ghanaian contingents. That
Very
is
nice,
the
sir.
level to
Yes.
which we coordinate in peacekeeping operation. Thank you.
Absolutely encouraging, especially for those who were at that time at UN about the incident that you mentioned. Having spoken about your experience and budgetary constraints and things like that, how do you look at the future of United Nations peacekeeping in years ahead? I won't say decades because things are very dynamic and they're changing very fast. So how do you look at this whole concept in some or a few years ahead?
If the UN is going to be challenged regarding some of this peacekeeping operation, then regional bodies also should start looking at building capacities so that in the event of any conflict, regional bodies and organizations can step in immediately. And I will cite an example from where I come from, West Africa. We had a situation in Gambia and there was a situation in Guinea-Bissau. It is not a UN peacekeeping operation, but it's an ECOWAS intervention that is currently in Guinea-Bissau and then in the Gambia. So building capacity of regional standby forces is also critical, even as UN goes through these challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable insight, sir. And it was great pleasure talking to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was the Ghanaian Army Chief sharing his candid views on United Nations peacekeeping operations and their future. Do share and comment and stay connected for much more. Jai Hind.